Welcome back to my channel. It is Candace with a K here, where I normally talk books, beauty, and kicks. Today I am giving my review of one of my favorite genres that I'm recently really getting into. It is a historical fiction and it is Harlem Rhapsody. I know you've seen it everywhere. You've probably even already read it. So let's really get into it and talk about it. Harlem Rhapsody by Victoria Christopher Murray was released earlier this year, and it has been on my TBR for such a long time. Of course, as you know, when you're reading books and you're juggling things, it is hard to keep up. I finally was able to get my copy through Libby. Okay, so if you are not using Libby and you don't have a library card, make sure you go ahead and do that right now. Like let's stop talking, okay? Go do that. I was able to get my copy through Libby, and it really did take me a long time to get through this title. I just had so much going on. I couldn't really focus, and it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it, because I definitely was, but it was just took me forever. But I finally got through with it, and now I'm able to talk about it, okay? This year, I've really gotten into historical fiction, and I don't know if it's because I am trying to transition into more nonfiction text that historical fiction has become a happy medium between the two. I have been lusting over historical fiction, okay? And this just really satisfied that desire to learn more because it was a little messy. And one thing I like is a mess. So before we really get into the book, of course, I have to talk about the cover. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, okay? Something about the orange up against the red and the green just really makes everything pop. So shout out to the illustrator or the graphic designer, whomever did that. I think it really highlights the underlying theme of the book, which is the Harlem Renaissance and this artistic expression that came through during this time period with the people dancing on the bottom, or the people painting, or even her reading and the musicians. I think it does a very good job of capturing the context needed in this book. Now, to move on to the description, which is posted on Amazon, it reads: in 1919, a high school teacher from Washington, D.C. arrives in Harlem excited to realize her lifelong dream. Jessie Redmond Fawcett has been named the literary editor of The Crisis. The first Black woman to hold the position at a prominent Negro magazine, Jessie is poised to achieve literary greatness. But she holds a secret that jeopardizes it all. W.E.B. Du Bois, the founder of The Crisis, is not only Jessie's boss, he's her lover, and neither his wife nor their 14-year age difference can keep the two apart. Amidst rumors of their tumultuous affair, Jessie is determined to prove herself. She attacks the challenge of discovering young writers with fervor, finding 16-year-old County Cullen, 17-year-old Langston Hughes, and Nella Larson, who become one of her best friends. Under Jessie's leadership, the crisis thrives. Every African American writer in the country wants their work published there. When her first novel is released to great acclaim, it's clear that Jessie is at the heart of a renaissance in Black music, theater, and the arts. She has shaped a generation of literary legends, but as she strives to preserve her legacy, she'll discover the high cost of her unparalleled success. Period. So, in layman's terms, she was trying to negotiate career or a man, and a man that wasn't hers. Hello? All right, so from this point forward, I am going to get into the book. If you have yet to read the book, go read it, come back, because there are going to be some spoilers ahead. So, overall, love this book, okay? And I especially loved it, like I said, because of the historical aspects, but because I love a mess. And the mess that is at the core of this story is her relationship with W.E.B. Du Bois, okay? Du Bois. I'm not even really sure what the correct saying of his name is, but WB, okay? Historically, we know WB to be this activist pillar in Black Renaissance and Black liberation and fighting for not necessarily equality, but equity and things of that sort. And so it is nice that this author took this pillar and humanized him. I think so often we forget that behind these great people, they are at the end of the day human, whether they are faithful or not. We hear that from many of our other greats in the Black community who may have stepped out on a wife or two, or may have had little side dwellings and side families and the have you and have nots. um, so it's nice to see these pillars in our community be humanized. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's nice to see. I think what was very interesting for me personally was seeing how the author negotiated Jesse's relationship with a man of social stature, particularly being the side woman. Okay. Being a side piece can't possibly be fun. I don't see how you can find enjoyment in it. Like, for Jessie particularly, she had a career goal in mind that just came with dating a man. Um, so that's what not to rationalize, but I can understand why she felt like by dating WEB, it would put her in a better position to be editor of the Crisis. So I get that. But having to know your position is crazy. So what I think of when I think of that is how, in order for her to throw off the rumors that she was dating him, she decided to throw his wife and him an anniversary party. As I was reading that, I was just like, baby, what are you thinking? Like, if you're gonna be the side piece, play the background, right? Don't try and be all up in the family. Don't try and be all up in the space. That's just weird, right? So I understand where she was trying to kind of make a clear line in the sand to say, I'm here for these business purposes while hunching on him on the side. But throwing the family anniversary party was crazy. Okay, let's all just say that. On the flip side, WEB thinking that he had authority over Jessie, knowing that his true role in her life was really only her boss, was crazy to me. Um, his reactions to her having an opinion at the table, particularly after watching, that play, or telling her, don't go against me in public, when baby, you are already going against me by not making me yours and staying with your wife, or not making me editor, knowing that I can do the job. So how are you going to be the authority over here? I liked that she definitely questioned what? Because how the gall, the nerve. But he's a man, so as I said, the historical fiction piece really drew me in. I am not super into poetry and or um, kind of the artsy writing. Like, I mean, obviously I like to read, but I don't really pick up poetry a lot. So my familiarity with Langston Hughes and County Cullen and some of the other artists named in the book is so minor, and it's actually very minute that this did incite me to look into some of those works. And so I appreciate when I'm able to take things away from a novel and put them forth in the real world. And I really appreciated that about this book. So I will say that another aspect of this book that I really liked was that backdrop of the Harlem Renaissance, and seeing how, this revolution in theater, music, art, poetry, writing, etc. was came about, and how they kind of worked as a collective to see some of these aspects come to life. And I loved that the people that she worked with really gave her flowers, in that they acknowledged, without you and your help and your decision making wouldn't have led me here. And I think we all need a good mentor in our lives that kind of push you to your greatness. So I really did appreciate that. I think the biggest thing that I liked about this book is that Jessie chose herself in the end. And as much as it probably pained her to walk away from all of the work that she put into the Crisis and handling all of the editing and being essentially the editor of that magazine, she still had to understand that she was a woman in a subordinate position under a man that will never value or respect her. And that alone, I think, is such a powerful message to career driven women who may potentially be blinded momentarily by love and can later find their voice in a way that puts them in the driving seat. So I was actually hollering at the words on the page, reading how she was like standing up for herself, not going to the hotel with Will, not choosing to decline the job just because he wanted her to stay. Like, go to Europe, go do your thing. I think it was such a defining moment for herself, because it has to suck to see that there is not going to be a change after you've waited time and time again, and particularly put in the work that has tangible results. You can see that I have made this something, and everybody around me knows that I've made this something, and yet you can't see it for yourself, or he couldn't see it for her. Yeah. Yeah. She, one thing about Jessie as a character is that she was very self aware. She understood her position, she understood how to play it, she understood when she was getting played. Like at her novel dinner, seeing how everybody else is getting their flowers before she ever got hers, and the feelings that she had, and being able to verbalize it and understand that. Like, she was extremely self aware for a main character. There probably was no point in this book that I hated her or even hated her decisions. Like, I don't know, maybe I just get it. Not to say it's right, but like, I get you, girl. I get Jessie in the unknown realities of this book. Yeah, I get you. All in all, I rated this book 4 stars. I think what I just was missing ultimately from this title was her like her being happy. I think it is an assumption that she will find happiness in her decision making, but I do wish that WB had held her down. I wished that she was just, I don't know, and I happy might not even be the right emotion for that, but there was just something that I wanted for Jessie that I didn't necessarily get in the pages that I read. However, it is under the assumption that my girl is gonna be straight. Like, she's gonna be good. So I can believe that. I will say I was extremely terrified hearing WB's wife, Nina, come to her as a woman and like basically saying, "You think I didn't know about you?" Which, I don't know from Nina's perspective if I would have been as chill about it. She threw you an anniversary party, which already would have pissed me off because you playing in my face. So that's one. But Nina really came to her respectfully and was like, "I've seen the work you put in, and if it wasn't for you, this would be nothing." And it's like, that is a strong woman to say that to your husband's mistress, one of your husband's mistresses. And that's just so interesting to me, because I couldn't imagine coming to a woman knowing that my man is cheating, because obviously you're allowing the cheating to take place because you're aware of it. So that's interesting in itself. But to come to her when your problem is really with him, but I guess if you're complacent, I don't know. Messy topic, but I feel like if you in it and you know, then you know, then like in Jesse's case, she was in love with the man. Like, if you're gonna be the side piece, please don't be in love with the man. That's kind of crazy. I have to also remind you all that I have a romance book club, that if you are interested in reading about romance, because low key this could fall into romance, although it wasn't a book selection for our book club, you are more than willing to join the book club. We meet every second Wednesday of the month. And our next book selection is going to be Sweet Heat. Okay, so I know you're going to want to be there. I know you're going to want to tune in because I hear such good things about this book and I cannot wait to start it. So if you're interested in joining that book club, you can go ahead. There is an interest form down below. Go ahead and click that link. If not, be sure to also follow me on KANDACEWITHAK Reads. That is where I post all book related content. And I'll be sure to see you in my next video. Peace.